I guess I first played Battlefield back in ancient times. It was Battlefield 1942, back in 2002. The first one in the series. I thought to myself, this game has some potential. Little did I know how it would all evolve. I didn't play later titles until Battlefield 4. I simply forgot all about the series. Funny thing, even my purchase of Battlefield 4 was very random. I was in a physical game store, I know, ancient times again, searching for a copy of Guild Wars 2, as I wanted to break free from World of Warcraft and play something a little bit different. I found it, but there was a box that caught my eye. A box with great looking art on the cover, in form of soldier with a gun and title that read Battlefield 4. I grabbed it and I started to read what was on the other side to learn some more. There was not much to read, but the pictures told the story of military operations and heavy destruction system. I thought to myself, why the hell not? I loved first-person shooters in the past, it's time to add them back to my playtime. Little did I know, but that game became one of the most played in my history. Yes, I know, it makes me biased, but who isn't very much subjective when they critique or review anything? After the title with number 4 in it, there was strangely enough Battlefield 1 that I played with my online friends, and we had so much fun. Operations game mode was epic, we felt like real soldiers. We didn't have much enthusiasm for Battlefield 5 when we played beta. We thought it was a downgrade in most aspects. Later on I played some of it when it was at the end of its update cycle, and I must admit the game redeemed itself and it was very good. Unfortunately I cannot say that about next entry in the series, Battlefield 2042, which was a disaster from the start. And my friend Zach, who played it recently in order to unlock some bonuses for Battlefield 6, says it still sucks, so there's that. But you came here to listen what I've got to say about the newest Battlefield, so let's do just that. We're gonna start with a single player, as it is pretty small yet important element of the whole game. Short story short, NATO was weak, private military sector takes advantage, they overstep, NATO pulls their shit together, and here we go. Global scale conflict. Not very realistic story, but one we got nonetheless. The action in campaign starts very strong with Michael Bay style opening. Plenty of explosions and shooting. We are simple soldiers, so we don't know what the hell is going on. And the first mission ends on the high note with highly inspired by Black Hole Down scene. Very heavy stuff, but fun to play as all hell. To my surprise, the second mission started like Hollywood blockbuster as well. Holy cow, missions are a pure spectacle and you go and shoot all kinds of guns on foot and in vehicles. You blow shit up and you feel like in actual warfare. There is no bullcrap missions like in COD, and to think Call of Duty was like this before they went all weird. The single player missions transferred me back to better and simpler times, when playing FPS games was like that. Oh my, the nostalgia is strong today. However, pre-render cutscenes are a downer in all of this adrenal pumping experience. They are of non-importance as the whole story wasn't very believable to begin with, but still, kind of a letdown nonetheless. And how it ends on a cliffhanger when it just started to get interesting. All in all, I think the single-player campaign serves as a good prelude and warm-up before the multiplayer, and I encourage everyone to play it, as it is visceral, brutal experience without any nonsense when it comes to gameplay. One important thing to mention before we go to the multiplayer section of the review: AI of your allies and enemies alike isn't top tier, but it is good enough. Okay, let's get into the meat of the game, which is gameplay. Movement feels smooth and well balanced between arcade and realistic. This is how a Battlefield game should feel like. There are of course some minor bumps here and there, but they are not critical, so it is all in the range of acceptance. Shooting the actual guns feels great. In campaign, reactions of enemies to hits is very good, and in multiplayer the hit registration is decent as well. Somewhat better than in beta version just a few months ago, I reckon. But it's not all rainbows and sunshines, as there is simply too many settings to customize your gaming experience, and if you want to find specific option, you need to bury yourself in dozens of submenus. This is a real nightmare even for a veteran player, and for a beginner it's simply an impossible task. Maps, both in single player and multiplayer, are beautiful. The draw distance is huge. Yes, there are some pop-ins when you move fast here and there, but that is to be expected. There are of course some weak points in the map design, as my friend Zach pointed out. Some of them were too big for the gameplay they offered, and some others were too tight and flat, meaning lacking natural details that should be there. I was shocked when I only had to wait around 15 minutes in queue when servers launched on October 10th. I can say that I was there when the hour zero hit. Next time I'll launch the game several hours later, there was no queue, and game loaded ultra fast. It was like 15 seconds and I was in the menu. It's very nice to see something like this. But to the point, there are plenty of game modes, bigger and smaller. Anyone who likes online shooters will find something for themselves here. Moreover, there is a choice of custom game modes, and one of them is the hardcore mode known from the former Battlefield games. The tools that game devs provided to the community will provide custom experiences for a very long time. And who knows, maybe one of them will become its own subgenre, as we've seen so many times when creative modding of talented people came to be. Okay, but what about progression systems? There is plenty of weapons, attachments and cosmetics to unlock, so you will have hundreds and hundreds of hours to grind if you like to. Don't you worry though. It goes decently fast to unlock weapons, gadgets and other equipment, and the starting weapons are so good that you don't need to worry that you are at disadvantage. But you know what? I could talk all day long about different elements and aspects of Battlefield 6, and it would really be of no importance. The set of elements doesn't matter when it comes to this game. What matters is the feeling when you are in the game and immerse yourself on the battlefield. And that is beyond reason, you simply need to experience it. And I had so much luck that I could do it alone and with my friends. Taking and giving orders, providing information on comms like Discord or in-game. This is peak multiplayer experience, even if it's flawed in many ways. That leads us to the technical state of Battlefield 6. Graphically the game is top tier, don't listen to the internet malcontents that hang on to the details, as you can customize the look of the game pretty extensively. Some people could say that the game looks similar to modern Call of Duty titles, but the eye of a computer graphics veteran can spot differences right away. Textures are way more detailed, small objects look like small objects and not a 3D modeller's mistakes. The whole presentation looks polished, clean and dirty at the same time. I love it. Yeah, I know. Graphics ain't perfect here, as some places could use improvements, but it is also minor and only visible in slow close-ups. When I'm playing multiplayer match with adrenaline sky high, I won't be thinking to myself, yeah, while I'm lying here waiting for revive, I see this rock could use some work. Yeah, and that texture over there. Hell no, I am looking if I got anyone new that could revive my wounded ass. But back on the track. Fortunately, FSR 4 was added as an upgrade, because FSR 3 in beta was not of the best enough quality when it comes to upscaling, but as a native AA option my friend Zach reports that it's better than TAA option. I hope AMD will add it to some older GPUs, because the difference is night and day in some games. Also, I've got bad news for HDR enjoyers. SDR and HDR look the same as you switch it in Windows settings, but the game itself lacks HDR sliders to set it correctly. Of course, there are some tutorials on the internet so you can manipulate game files, but I'm getting too old for that crap, so I play in SDR as it is more than fine. From better news, there is very fine detail overlooked in many games. Flashlight works correctly, meaning where it points, there it casts the light. That is what I like to see in the games I play. Seems like a minor thing, but it makes a world of difference to me. Unfortunately, lack of precision in some scripted scenes during single-player campaign kinda nullifies this. When you see character model hands several inches away from where it should be, you immediately remember that you play a video game. Immersion is broken and you feel kinda cheated. I would like to see it improved for the people who gonna play it in the future. The performance is very good for the title released in 2025, and best of all, it is very scalable. You need strong CPU and GPU to play on the highest settings, but that was always the case in Battlefield series. But there is one problem, as 1% lows are not great plenty of times. It depends on the game mode, map, level of destruction accumulated and so on. In some maps there are simply spots that tank performance more than they should. Many players report game feeling like it runs in lower FPS than metrics show. I sometimes had this feeling myself, and other times I felt like it was buttery smooth. Let's hope it will get smooth out in not so distant future updates and patches. Strange thing, but the game sometimes applies your variable refresh rate setting and sometimes ignores it, despite if it's turned on or off. Well, at least OLED VRR flicker was not visible to me in action and only in loading screens. I guess frame times are decently close together despite sassy 1% lows. Besides, in dark scenes there is already ton of lights flickering, and in a bright day is an non-issue, so I guess game is pretty resistant to that. The whole thing actually thrown me into the testing spiral, so I tested more games that I play, and I concluded that for the love of me I could not see the difference between VRR on and off on my monitor, outside of little bit of added latency when on. So I made a controversial decision and disabled adaptive sync altogether in the on-screen display menu of my monitor. If there will come the time when I'll notice screen tearing once again, I will turn it back on and test again. But until then, I don't wanna obsess over it in every single game that I install, test and play. From other news, sound is great. You can even choose the audio mix to your liking. If you have strong ears, I recommend Wartape's VAL, as it is most aggressive one that will enhance your experience. I wonder why it's not set as default. I guess developers decided that it would be too much for many players. Music is decent, as Battlefield theme is great in itself, but other than that I didn't even notice if there was music at all. I was just immersed in the game I guess, but listening to the official soundtrack while writing this review, I can say with all confidence that it is good. It's not the best music experience that you will have in your life, but it's very appropriate for the game it serves. And added bonus, there is one song by Limp Bizkit. I was pleasantly surprised by that, as it is another music band that I listened to in my younger years, so the nostalgia is going strong through and through. There are some bugs, glitches and unpolished elements. The worst is the occasional crashing of a graphics card driver, which was not the case in beta version. Both me and Zach experienced it on 2 generations of AMD cards, as he rocks 7900 XTX and I use 9070 XT, as you know if you watch my performance tests on this channel. I just check out and it is common problem on all graphic cards. It was one crash in 3 days, so that's not that bad, but I hope it will be fixed, as it is not pleasant thing to experience at all. All in all, I can recommend Battlefield 6 to the fans of shooter games, both single player and multiplayer, as it is best shooter in years. But let's be honest, recent years were not kind when it comes to this genre. Yes, I admit Battlefield 6 is far from perfect, but it's the best we got at the moment, so let's enjoy it for what it is. I only hope the game will receive appropriate support in the future, so it can entertain for years to come, and not only months. I will be watching closely for the updates to polish the common problems. But until then, I will see you on the battlefield. I mean, in the next Great Late Review.